Hey everyone, I've got some huge news to share with you. In the last 90 days, 79.4% of our audience came from viewers and listeners that are not subscribed to this channel. There's research that shows that if you want to create a habit, make it easy to access. By hitting the subscribe button, you're creating a habit of learning how to be happier, healthier, and more healed. This would also mean the absolute world to me and help us make better, bigger, brighter content for you and the world. Subscribe right now. What's your earliest childhood memory of being creative? Like, do you remember the first thing you put together? You were just telling me you even had this shirt made that you're wearing today. Like, what was one of the first things you remember saying, oh, wow, I did something as a kid?
Okay, here's what I really remember.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the luxury of having like insane musical instruments at my fingertips and recording studios, and I was from the middle of nowhere. So my brother had a boombox, an old school boombox, and I had a smaller old school boombox. And I remember my earliest memories at I'm probably like 5 or 6, and I remember realizing that music, when I first heard music, I always thought that the musician was at the radio station singing the song, and I was like, how do they keep coming back to the station? I didn't even understand how music was created. But somewhere very early, I figured out that it was like a multi-track situation. And I had a boombox, and I would record like me like hitting like this into the boombox, okay? Then I would press play on that one, and then I would do the next thing on the other boombox and record into that one. And I would keep going back and forth until I created like a track. I guess I was creating like my own like 8-track and multi-track of layering things. And I didn't even know what it was, but I was just so excited that I was doing it. And my whole career has been a version of that. Like I have no training. I'm not good at anything. I'm really I know people are like, oh, you're being humble. I'm really not great at anything. I have like a ultimate will to get things done. Like I'm like, this will happen. But no, it's just I'm always trial and error. And I always tell people are always just like, well, how did you do this? How did you? And I'm like, honestly, like just going in, and I call it making a mess. I like to go in and throw a bunch of shit around the room, throw paint at everything. And then we worry about cleaning it up later. But maybe a few of those things just happen to land correctly. And I just keep doing that until everything fully lands where I want it to. And I'm just playing cleanup around the sides.
That's a beautiful way of describing the process. But what gave you that? Where does that will or that confidence come from? Because I think a lot of people are scared of creating a mess or scared of things not sticking, so they never try. Whereas it sounds like you're the opposite, where you're like, well, I don't care if it doesn't try. I'm willing to give it a go. Where does that inner confidence, that inner ability to say, hey, it's okay, come from?
I don't care about failure at all. I don't care. And I never did. I think when I was younger, I didn't understand what failure was. Like when you're 6, when you're 7, when you're 12, there's not many people to let down. You know what I mean? You let down Timmy at school. He's your friend. Sorry, Timmy. But you're not thinking about that. And I just remember from the beginning, like my mom was like, I wanted to drop out of school. And my mom was raising me alone, and I was probably 15, 16 at the time. And I was like, Mom, I know what I want to do. She's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, the music stuff. Like, I'm so into it. And I know, and I looked at her and I go, I know I'm going to be the biggest in the world. And she was just like, what are you, and I've asked my mom like later in life, like, how did you like trust me in my journey? And she always said that she had dreams that she never got to try in her life. And a lot of people are just way too scared to take the jump. A lot of people may have, I'm sure everyone in this room, anyone listening has a little something where they're like, oh, I really like that. But they're scared. They're like, I want to post videos of me cooking online. No one will like it. My friends will make fun of me. I sing in the shower. Like no. Because we're taught to just follow suit and do whatever you're supposed to do. You report to your boss, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like if you want to try to be like a musician, an entrepreneur, whatever, it's scary. And like I'm sure you've had moments like that where you're like, yo, what am I doing? But if you do try, I believe that if you keep pushing yourself and you keep trying, you're going to succeed. And I always tell people this, it may not be in what you start with, you know? Like when I started, I thought I was going to be the biggest rap artist in the world. And am I a rapper now? No. And then I moved into producing, and then I moved into songwriting, and then it's come full circle now where I'm like an artist of some sorts again. And I think you just jump in and just try something. Just try. And who cares? If you're going to fail, who cares if you fail? I don't understand. That's the thing I don't understand. It's just, you just get up and you do it again. I have amnesia the second I fail. The second I fail, I'm like, the next day I wake up, I'm like, all right, let's do it again. You know?
That's an amazing mindset. So we share something in common already. We both grew up wanting to be famous rappers.
Yeah.
Did
you?
Yeah.
No.
That was like my passion, like poetry, spoken word, writing lyrics. Like all I listened to was hip hop and rap growing up. Like if you asked me at 16 years old what I wanted to be, that's what I wanted to be. And it's so interesting because today I feel I use the same skills that I wanted to use then, but in a completely different way. I still write. I write books instead of records. I teach meditation, which includes music, it includes cadence, it includes rhyme often, but not in the way that a rapper would. And I'm using spoken word constantly to get messages out into the world, but in a different way. And so I love what you just said about that idea of how you actually may succeed, but in a way completely different to what you originally dreamed of.
I hope it goes full circle for you. I need to hear the Jay Shetty rap tape. What was your rap name?
Oh God, I don't know if I need to go that far.
Okay.
It was embarrassing, but I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I'll tell you privately. Yeah,
Tell me later.
I'll tell you privately.
Is Jay Shetty your real name?
Yes.
It's that's the perfect rap.
Is
name.
it?
Yeah, Jay Shetty sounds like a fire rapper.
Really?
Yeah, from like East London.
Okay, I'm from North London, so not far.
All right.
Yeah, not far. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it. But no, I really appreciate what you're saying there. And I think that amnesia to failure, wow, like I love that idea of having amnesia with failure. Can you give me a time, was that always the case, or was there a failure that like did kind of pierce that veil? It never has. I can see from your face.
No, I remember when I was going to quit music one time right before I made it, my mentor passed away. He took his own life, and I was really young. It was one of my best friends, and I'm probably like 18. And I remember like sitting in my bed, and I was like crying. I like didn't understand. You know, it was one of the first times that somebody who wasn't supposed to die died. You know, I've had like, you know, I've lost my grandmother and lost my grandfather, but it was like the first time in my life where like someone that like I really knew and really touched me, and I talked to them the day before they died. And it's like, I remember like that hitting me like so hard in a way that I didn't know was even possible. Like, you know, I'd been sad. But I remember sitting there in bed, and I was just like, I'm just going to quit. I was like, I got to quit making music. And then in that very same moment, like my head flipped, and I was just like, no, you can't. You got to like take on what this dude started. Cause he was also a musician, and he didn't get he was well known, and he was a hero to me, but he didn't get where I think he deserved to. And I remember being like, I gotta do this. Like, he would want me to be doing this. And that was like the only time where it wasn't even failure. It was like the only time where I like really questioned things. But don't get me wrong. Every time I do something good in life, I'm questioning. But it's like a different feeling. I don't know if you have this, but I'll have a number one song. It's the biggest song in the whole world. And I'll like look in the mirror and I'll be like, oh, that's the last one. Like, definitely not going to have another number one song again. Not saying I'm like scared of the failure. I'm just like, oh, that's just like the last one. That's what I did. Or something really good will happen in my life. And I'm like, oh, I'll never recreate that again. But in the same breath, I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm like, let's keep rolling, you know? And I've tried to do this thing lately in the last like 5 or 10 years where I really like take in my achievements. Cause for a while, I never thought of them. I would just keep going. Like when it was time, they'd be like, oh, your song's number one. I'd be like, okay, that's cool. What are we doing next week? And I figured out like, it's okay to do that. It's okay to like take a breath and be like, yo, we just did this shit. Like, this is tight. Like we did this. This is great. And yeah, I'm trying to do that more. And failure, like, no, I've never had one of those times because whenever I do fail, I'll sit and obviously like I'll sit there and I'll be like, this didn't work how I wanted it to. But so many times have been the opposite where I was like, this will never work. And then it's big. So it's like, I feel like it always evens out. And you only have one other choice. It's like your only choice is just to keep going. What are you supposed to do? Just be like, oh, it didn't work. No, get up and you do it again.
Yeah, I've got so many questions. I want to dive into so much that you said. So rewinding with your mentor, how did you first, and I'm so sorry to hear, thank you for sharing with us, and, you know, such a challenging event. And I lost my mentor 4 years ago. He passed away from stage 4 brain cancer during the pandemic. So I couldn't go back to see him because I couldn't take a flight. And so I couldn't be at his funeral. So, you know, it was super rough for me. It was more recent, but how did you meet your mentor and how did you form a bond? I think a lot of successful people have mentors, they have guides, they have teachers, they have coaches. But then sometimes when you're listening to a conversation, you're like this, you're like, I want someone to be my mentor, but I don't know where to start. I don't know how to find them. Like, what does that mean? Like, how did you connect?
I've had so many mentors. I have mentors every day. I'm a mentor to people, but sometimes my mentees are my mentor. Like you always got to be open to just listening and learning. Every day I learn something. I was in the studio yesterday with a guy who was one of my mentees. Like the way I got to tell you that story later. That's insane. I'll go to that. I'll tell that after. First one is I met my mentor. This is when he was like my second or third mentor. I met a lot of my really important mentors in my life when I was about 13. I was a musician. I was traveling for music at the time. I had gotten like some buzz and MySpace was a thing.
Yeah, okay? I remember MySpace.
And I had somehow created a profile where I had a bunch of followers, okay? So I don't even remember how I did it, but I was a kid. I used to do it in the library at school. And there was this guy, he was a producer. I was obsessed with him. I messaged him, the equivalent of DM today. Yeah. And I remember messaging him and I was like, I love your stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then no response. And I was like, oh, I love you, like, please, blah, blah, blah. No response. Then I saw like a few weeks later, he was advertising. He was like, I have studio time available. It's like, you know, $500 or something. And I remember just being like, okay, the only way I'm going to meet this guy is if I get the studio time. So I say, I'm interested in the studio time. He says, great, come to New York and meet me here. He had no idea where I was. I drove to New York and we drove like 4 hours to New York. I get to New York, I get in with him. The first thing I say is I'm like, I don't really need studio time. I just want to talk to you. Please, I'll do anything. I just want to work with you. I'll do whatever you say. But then he was just like, this was insane. He said, I'm leaving this weekend. I need my studio booked the whole weekend. It's $850 for the 2 days. You need to book it. If you can book it, I'll let you work for me.
Wow.
I called every single person I know. I spent I had like a few $100. Then like I would like beg my friends for money. I had like knew a few rappers at the time that wanted studio time. And I like figured it out. And he was just like, he got back. I did it. Like I just did it in the nick of time. And he was just like, all right, you can work. You start next week. And I would drive up every weekend from Virginia to work with him from when I was like 16, 17. And we created this bond. And it was like, he was tough on me. It was like, he was like not an easy guy. Like I remember like I walked in and I had a hard drive filled with all of my music. Okay. Everything I had been making. And he like took it, he listened to it, he ejected it, and then he threw it out the window. He threw my hard drive out the window, broke into a million pieces, no more hard drive. And he was like, not good enough, start again. What? And it was like, yeah, he was like super sensei. It was like Karate Kid. And I like hated him in the moments for it. But he taught me so many things that like I learned. And taught me things not to do as a mentor. And you know, it was a really special time. And now I just want to jump to this. Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah, go on. I love it. Let it flow.
So I'm, you know, this is, I don't know, almost 10 years ago now, maybe 8 years ago. And I'm playing poker at a friend's house. And my friend puts me on her story, her Instagram story. And the next day she comes to me and she said, "Hey, my friend's son saw you on my story, and apparently you're like a big deal in music." And she was just like, "You have to have him come work for you." And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, you have to have him come work for you." I was like, I don't need anyone else. I already have assistants, interns." And they were like, "No, you have to." And this lady is like there isn't really, you don't get to have a choice. So I was like, all right, I'll meet him. So this kid comes in. He's 15 years old. He's like, like everything, like he's just so excited. And he like was so sweet, and he reminded me of me when I was a kid. He was like, "I'll do anything, I'll work for you, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "All right, come work for me." He comes and works for me. I still like am spending a lot of time in New York at the time. And so I don't see him. He's just like building a studio for me and has never even met me besides that one day.
Wow.
But he does it for like a year. Then like I finally come back to LA, and I'm like, "All right, you ready to come into some recording studios?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm so excited." So like, you know, first week, first 3 sessions, his first session is The Weeknd. His second section is Travis Scott. And like his third session was like Maroon 5. So it's like he's getting thrown into it. So I remember we're at the first session and I'm just like, "Be cool, blah, blah, blah." It's The Weeknd. And The Weeknd's in there, and we're like all in a room, and we're just like singing into microphones, like we're chilling. And he's like, I know his mind's blown. Weeknd's his favorite artist at the time. And I remember when no one's looking, he like sneaks a picture, and he accidentally has his flash on. So it goes, and it has the noise too. And so it was like, and when it did it, he went, and he threw his phone. and somehow The Weeknd didn't notice. And like I pulled him aside after, and I'm like, "Dude, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah." Fast forward, he's in high school, and I say, "Hey, I was in the middle of making Ed Sheeran's Divide album, and I was producing the whole thing." And I was like, "I need some help on the road. If I talk to your school and get you off, will you come?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." Took him on the road for like 2 weeks. Mine was blown. Then, you know, he starts going to NYU Clive Davis School of Music. And I have another opportunity. I talk to his teachers. I take him on the road for like a month. We're on tour with Halsey. Then he's coming back to work for me now, okay? We've never talked about him making music at all. And we're sitting there one day. It's late at night. And he said, "My therapist said he's going to stop working with me if I don't play you my music." I said, "What do you mean you make music?" And he's like, yeah, I make music." I was like, "Why didn't you ever play it for me?" He's like, "I was so scared. I was trying to get better, blah, blah, blah." He plays me some songs. They're terrible. They're awful. But like I can hear something in him. And I know he's so, you know, in music, so much of it is like getting an artist to feel comfortable, getting them to believe, getting them to, you know, so much of it is your personality. And he had that. He had the it factor. I saw when he was with like artists, he knew how to talk to them. He knew how to make them feel good, just like getting them food, everything. And, you know, he spent years just seeing how I did it with artists. And I decided to sign him. I was like, "I'm going to sign you." And he went on this journey, and now he's one of the biggest music producers in the world. I mean, last year he won, you know, best record at the Grammys. He's had like 5 or 10 number one records.
That's
and it's
insane.
like, this guy started, he was so humble. He was 15 years old. Now he's like probably 26, 27. And he just went on the journey. He knew when his time was, and he went in and he did it. And it was just like, I always tell people, you know, you just got to stick through it. You got to stick around, you know. And when I first signed him, it wasn't working for him. It took him like a few years for it really to like connect. And he's just like, it's such a fun story for me.
That's a brilliant story.
Yeah, you know, and I've been fortunate enough to have that a few different times in my life with people. And it was so cool because I had that experience, and we're all, to pay it forward is just...
Yeah, the intern applications to the Benny Blanco School of Music just went through the roof. Like now the amount Reed's gonna get hit up this whole week, and dude, I love that. No, it's beautiful to hear that, and also what I love about that message is when your mentor throws your hard drive outside the window. Like it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm never going back.
Yeah,
like he's crazy. Like I'm never going back. It's like whiplash.
Oh yeah,
right. Like
that was my life. I was cleaning toilets with a toothbrush. Like that was my real life.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when you were describing it. I felt exactly like that. I'm thinking, you know, but how do you show up again and recognize there's value? Because I think now we're in a place as well where it's like if something like that happened, we'd be like, oh no, get out of there. It's you know.
I know. It did change a little bit. Like
you wouldn't do that. That's what I mean. You wouldn't throw someone's hard drive.
No, I would never do those type of things. I'm just like not that type of person. I'm not like a yelling person. I'm not like it's just like that's not my way of communication. Like if I was like sad about something, I'd be like, man, I think it's like probably almost worse. Like I'd be like, why did you do that? You know what I mean?
I go quiet.
Yeah. Or I'd be like, you know, if you're ever like in an argument in a relationship, like I'm not a yeller. I'm like oh man, like I wish it was different. Like, and I like can't even find the words usually at the beginning. And I think that's how I am. And I think like I really learned that you don't have to do that stuff. It worked for me. It got me to where I am, but it's like you can be really positive. You can be a good influence on someone. You don't have to like, you can be hard on someone. Like I'm definitely like, I was definitely hard on the guy I was talking about, Blake. I was tough on him, but I was never like, I would never be mean. I would never like, there's no reason to do that. And what made me keep going back, I don't know, sheer just will and drive like that's like, I just was like, that's what they're trying to do. They want me to quit. They want me to, you know, and like, I don't know. I don't know why I do it. And I wonder, you know, sometimes I sit in bed and I'm like, why am I still working like so hard? Like I still work like I've never done a thing in my life. Like I'm still wake up every morning. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do this, then I'm gonna do this, and then I swear I'm gonna get this thing. And that's why I try to do different things that I'm not necessarily great at or not that I'm not great at, but that I don't have, you know, in music, I can go in, I can work with anyone, I can do this. But like, yeah, like making a cookbook, being in a TV show, I've never done these things. So it's like very interesting to me to start at the bottom again and just like try to work my way up.
Yeah.
It's fun. I love the climb. Like that's my favorite part about life.
Yeah.
Even everything, like in a relationship, when you meet that person at the very beginning and it's like, oh, I gotta like make my way into their heart and they have to make their way into mine. And it's just all about, I don't know, getting there is always the best. And then when you're there, I'm just like, all right. What else can I want to get some, you know what I mean? Like, so when you're like, you know, you do the music stuff and you get there and you're like, I think the only thing where you get there and it just keeps getting better is in a relationship with someone. I think that's like the only time you get there and you're like, okay, this is cool. Like, but when every other time I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, let's go.
What do you think makes relationships different that makes you feel that way as opposed to music? Or anything else, any other achievement, not music.
Well, I've never been in a relationship the way that I've been in one with music because it's been like a 30-year relationship. So I have no idea what happens 30 years from now in a relationship. But I just feel like in a relationship is like all these other things I'm doing. There's so many like tentacles. Like it's like you go this way and then you guys explore that together and you're exploring so many. It's basically anything I would explore in my life, I'm exploring with a partner. And so it's like figuring out, like you guys are like figuring out things together. And it's so cool when you have like a partner that like, I don't know, like I just get the feeling like it's awesome when you can have a partner that you look at and it's like the end of the day and you're like, oh, what did you do today? And they tell you and you're like, that's so tight. And you're like, I want to do more. Like when you can feed off of each other and just keep growing together, it's like every day is a new experience and you guys are like facing different things together. And I don't know, it's cool. And I always tell my friend, I was just talking to my friend yesterday about this. I was like, you always have to keep your work and life balance. And I was like, because you can feel it in the music and art if you don't have love or you don't have something. So I always tell them, I always feel that it's just like this. I have like rules, like every day, like I only work till like a certain time. I make sure like cooking is very important to me and therapeutic. So I make sure I do that. Like it's like Xanax to me. Like I have like all my things that I have to do to make that balance because I do push myself. I shove my head through that wall, just that drywall if I had to. But at the same time, I try to do all the things. It's like, okay, like it's like every Sunday I see my mom no matter what, every single Sunday at the exact same time. It doesn't matter if I like stay up all night, I'll just go right into seeing her. And it's just like, we have like a ritual we do. And then I have like my ritual where I go and get my groceries at the farmer's market every weekend. And there's just all these things that help keep you on track and grounded so you can keep doing what you're doing, you know? I mean, I'm sure you have things like that for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, mine's similar. I call my mom at the same time every week because she's back in London where I was born and raised in. So I have the same time I call her on the weekend. And there's certain things that have to be done that way. And same with you. And, I have a certain time as well that I switch off from work and I'm not looking at my phone. I have a time in the morning. I have like 3 hours of being awake before I'm doing any work. And I have to take that time for myself. But what's interesting about what you're saying is that there's a myth, obviously, that the broken-hearted artist can pour into the music, but you're actually saying that if you have love in your life, that can also be felt through music.
Yeah, I think that at times it's good to have a broken heart, but it's also good. There's a time and place for everything. What time you wake up?
I wake up now at 5:30 a.m.
What time did you wake up before?
Usually it was like this year has been different. This year I've been really prioritizing 5:30, but up until last year it's probably like 6 to 6:30.
And what time do you go to bed?
I go to bed at like 9 p.m. now.
Really?
Yeah, I love my 8 hours of sleep. So if I get into bed at 9, I'll be out by 9:15.
Okay.
And then if I wake up at 5:30, I've had like 8 hours and 15 minutes of sleep. Like it's
What
crazy.
are you doing? What are you doing in those first 3 hours?
Meditating for a lot of it. So I'll wake up at 5:30. I'll be ready to sit down for meditation by like 5:45. I'll meditate for an hour and a half. And then 7:15, I'll go for a hike or go to the gym usually a hike or the gym from 7:15 till about 8:15, 8:30, get ready. And then 9 a.m. I'll take my first emails, meetings, all that kind of stuff. So I think you came at 10 today. So
yeah. Hour and a half.
11.
Hour and a half that's a good meditation. Hour and a half. How do you even stay focused?
Well, I think it's a good question. And I always say to people that when I started, it wasn't 1.5 hours. Like you start up with doing like 7 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then 40 minutes. And what I found was just in the same way as if you go to a trainer at the gym, you'd hope that they work out more than you. So as someone who teaches meditation and helps people with mindfulness, I believe that as a trainer and as a coach, I have to do it for more time and deeper time because otherwise, if I'm only doing it for 7 minutes and I'm mentoring you and you're only doing it for 7 minutes, then how will I ever have an experience to guide you deeper? And so I've been doing that since I was 18 now. So it's been a long time. And when I was a monk for 3 years, it was longer. And that's where I got that deepest experience of practice for it. So I feel like if I didn't have those 3 years of going really deep into the practice, I may not have the focus I have today.
You were a monk?
For 3 years, yeah.
Like a real monk?
A real monk, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I've never met a monk.
I'll have to show you pictures.
I've never even met a monk.
Yeah, I'll have to show you. I'm not anymore, but yeah.
How long?
So you still haven't met a monk.
When was this?
So this was 2010 to 2013, and I was a monk across India, UK, and Europe. I traveled between the three, and I had a shaved head. I wore robes. I slept on the floor. We meditated for like 4 to 8 hours sometimes a day, and so it was a deeper practice. Yeah,
standard 8 hours. Standard 8-hour meditation.
Benny Blanco's life had grown increasingly intertwined with global pop fame, though he had never invited the attention craved by tabloids. Rather than chasing rumors or getting tangled in old narratives, those close to Benny whispered about the new treasure he'd built in silence. a lasting, resilient family with Selena Gomez right beside him. For onlookers still hungry for drama between pop titans or quick to drag up tales involving Justin Bieber, Benny had offered one simple statement. Justin belonged to the past, while he and Selena put all their focus on the life they were carving together, a present full of promise and the makings of a bright shared future. The origins of this journey began long before the world narrowed in on their relationship. Benny had already cemented his reputation as an industry-shaping producer, while Selena scaled new heights as an acclaimed singer and actress, her every step shadowed by a global audience ever attuned to her headlines. Despite years having passed, Selena's fans seemed drawn back to her iconic connections to Justin every time her new happiness surfaced, even when she herself had clearly moved forward. Benny, gentle but steadfast, told friends there was no place in their home for ghosts. No rivalry haunted their space. Endless clickbait stories speculating over Selena and Justin meant nothing to how Benny and Selena lived each day, together focusing only on the family foundation they were building. Catching a glimpse of the couple today, one wouldn't expect to find them under the spotlights of Hollywood galas. Instead, those close to the couple recalled scenes of simplicity, walking dogs under shady trees, weaving through vibrant farmers markets where the biggest attention paid was to fresh produce and easy laughter. Their happiness echoed through everyday rituals, meals cooked shoulder to shoulder, music made for no one's ears but each other, evenings reserved for siblings and old friends. Each small act formed a shield against the relentless noise aspiring to make their relationship everyone's business, not just theirs. Selena, too, had transformed in this gentler environment. Scarred from endless headlines and invasions during her youth, she unfolded into a phase of her life fiercely guarded from the outside. Only a handful of people witnessed it, but with Benny's steady presence, Selena found the belonging and safety not easily discovered in her whirlwind career. For Benny, family was never a slogan. All those closest to him spoke about the unwavering loyalty he brought to everyone he cherished, a trait that aligned perfectly with Selena's longing for roots and authenticity. That was the quiet secret behind their connection. They had no patience for clinging to outdated versions of themselves or letting outsiders define the terms of their happiness. Every rumor about old flames or ancient history was left to others. Benny and Selena clung instead to shared moments, kitchen rituals, laughter-filled planning with relatives. Their aim was always clear: to establish a home where love and privacy flourished, far removed from the digital microscope. If this story resonates, consider subscribing for more like it. Before Benny and Selena found each other, days were spent running on the hamster wheel of public attention. The world imagined they craved such scrutiny, but what the couple valued was slow mornings, uninterrupted by texts or camera flashes. Selena found herself fiercely protecting their corner of happiness, even as half the internet wanted a clue. Those trusted by Benny swore that above hit singles and awards, it was ordinary togetherness that fueled him. Both partners determined their shared joy stemmed not from past chapters, but from the story they wrote every new day. If you feel surprised by these details, don't forget to subscribe. Benny didn't respond to every speculative headline. He only spoke on the past when pressed. His answer was always the same. Justin wasn't a factor and posed no shadow over their happiness. Selena would nod, privately relieved not to have to revisit old wounds or defend herself to strangers chasing drama. Both accepted that memories would always linger and that sometimes the world would not be content letting go of yesteryear's love stories. Still, they focused on honoring what they shared now and supporting the family they envisioned going forward. Even when the door to the past cracked open, Benny's certainty saw them through. There was never a moment of doubt. Justin, he'd say, was simply part of history. Selena didn't look back, nor did Benny. Neither felt threatened nor interested in anyone else's expectations. They respected that everyone carries their own backstories, but insisted that only the present, the choices and attention given today, should matter. With their loyalty devoted to one another and the family they formed, Benny and Selena's daily reality had no room for jealousy or insecurity. Benny was careful to communicate boundaries. If anyone brought up Justin during interviews or casual meetups, he'd calmly reply that there was nothing left to discuss, and hopes for respect. When describing his life with Selena, Benny kept it direct. They were strong, satisfied, and not at all interested in being defined by old heartbreaks. For him, this clarity wasn't just a message. It was the line that protected their peace. If you find value in authentic stories, hit subscribe now. Their life together moved ahead with purpose, but never rush. Happiness wasn't measured by trending hashtags or trading in old headlines for new ones. It was built in homemade dinners and laughter with family, in long walks, inside jokes, and late-night dreams for the future. As news outlets and fans speculated endlessly, Benny and Selena stayed grounded, letting the world talk itself out. Their biggest promises weren't crafted to please the crowd, but to honor each other in daily commitment and warmth. Where other celebrity couples allowed external noise to rattle them, Benny and Selena found meaning in holding tight to the real, small joys, cooking, music, quiet moments untouched by outside eyes. Together, they stepped farther from old narratives, making room for a family of their own shaping, content to leave the chaos behind. For anyone watching, the message meant to be clear. Benny and Selena chose present happiness over past hype, letting curiosity and rumors fade into the distance as they walked hand in hand into a future of their own creation.